Hi, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. For those interested, requests in any type of videos, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthroughs, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. I do have a Cash App as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. And this is for City Slickers, a 1991 film that was directed by Ron Underwood, who had done Tremors, which I love Tremors, favorite of mine. Sadly, he did Pluto Nash, and while he did do a few films after that, nothing were really a big prolific film. So I think Pluto Nash really ultimately did kill his career, which is a shame because he had talent with this and Tremors. Now, the cast, Billy Crystal, it's my favorite Billy Crystal film. I like Billy Crystal. I liked him in, various other films I've seen him in. I liked his personality, his tone of comedy. I mean, I didn't watch him hosting the Oscars because I don't care about the Oscars. But, other films, even films like Father's Day, which is not a great movie, but I enjoyed it because of him and Robin Williams together. And even bits like The Princess Bride he was in, stuff like that. It's probably why I could maybe watch... What the hell was that one? God, I forgot what it was. The one where he's going to find a basketball player. My Giant. That's a film I could watch. Time waster. Mostly for Billy Crystal, and then a random cameo with Steven Seagal. But anyway, always enjoyed Billy Crystal. Bruno Kirby, I think, worked very well in this. And, he was in films like Good Morning Vietnam. Whenever I think of Bruno Kirby, though, I always think of this. And really enjoyed his role. Sadly, he has passed away. And then Daniel Stern as the final bit of the trio. Now, for what I understand, Daniel Stern was not the guy first cast. It was going to be Rick Moranis. And I just see Rick Moranis in this. That actually would have been really cool. I think Daniel Stern did a great job. But Rick Moranis would have been really cool. I could see it. Like him being the henpecked husband. And then him, stand up for himself. And yeah, I think that would have been cool to see. But from what I understand, this is around the time his wife was getting sick. And he was away for a bit until he fully retired later on. So that's understandable. Other people, Jack Palance, who's not in the film a ton, but when he's there, he's very memorable, to the point he won an Oscar for this. Other people, Jake Gyllenhaal is in this, very, very early role as Billy Crystal's son. Before I go on, the gist of the plot, for those who don't know, is Billy Crystal's a guy in a midlife crisis, and he feels lost, and he feels like he loves his family, but he just can't find his smile. So ultimately, he goes on this cattle ride with his buddies, Bruno Kirby and Daniel Stern. And kind of the misadventures that happens throughout that, meeting the trail boss, Jack Palance, meeting the other people on the cattle ride, whether it be David Paymer, which he's been in a bunch of stuff. You just look up David Paymer, you go, yep, I know that guy. Josh Mostel, which I think he was the guy trying to get the kid away from Adam Sandler and Big Daddy. But he wasn't a villain, he was just doing his job. Again, another guy you've seen in a bunch of stuff. Noble Willingham. That's kind of one of the guys running the operation. He was one of the bad guys in the last Boy Scout. If you've seen Walter Texas Ranger, you definitely know Noble Willingham. And a few others out there that's recognizable. Like the cook, I always forget his name. But the cook was Arnold's sidekick in Conan the Destroyer. He was also Jack Nicholson's kind of sidekick in Batman '89. I always forget his damn name. Someone with Walters, Tracy Walters, something like that. Yeah, I don't know why I always forget his name, but that face I'd always remember. And this is a film I have always enjoyed. Ever since I was a kid, I've enjoyed this film. If I did maybe like a God, it's hard. Like I was going to say, like favorite comedies. This would have to be for me at least in the top 20 favorite, because I always chuckle and laugh, and as years go on, it's very heartfelt, and you can see yourself in this. Where it'd be great to have friends like this, and you really feel the bond between the three, even from the beginning, where they're running the bowls and away from the bowls in Spain, and how they interact with each other, and it's actual bowls behind them, and people like getting out of the way of these bowls, all done for real, all done practically. No, CG trickery shit involved. And about how they like did these close calls until ultimately Billy Crystal gets hit in the ass with it. And then the score is very cheery. Really gets you into the mood. And these three really play their roles well. I mean, they have such great chemistry together, and you really see like Daniel Stern and him being kind of nervous around his wife, who's a complete bitch. Bruno Kirby just wanting to love life and do dangerous, adventurous events, and God, with beautiful young women and all this stuff. They all have their distinct personalities, but at the same time they gel well together. And whether it's because of nostalgia, whether because I've seen this movie multiple times, but even the simple stuff and the way lines are said gets me laughing. Even earlier on when his rear end has to be checked out, and he's like, Doctor, hello. Listen, don't sew anything that's supposed to remain open, okay? And then Daniel Stern takes a picture, and he's like, what are you doing? It's a Kodak moment. Oh, sure, just blind him with the flash. Blind him with the flash. But not only is it good as a comedy, but it works well enough as a drama. It's not melodramatic. It's not overly hard-hitting as a drama. But it works well with the midlife crisis, where I think a lot of people can relate to it. In this case, he's turning 39 years old. Which, hell, I'm past that. But you have those doubts. The best I'm ever going to look, the best I'm ever going to feel, the best I'm ever going to do. And it ain't that great. And actually, he says that to his boss, Jeffrey Tambor, which you've seen him in a lot of stuff. And the guy just goes, happy birthday. Or the bit with Career Week, where he sees his kid, Jake Gyllenhaal, and there's the guy who was up before him to talk to the class. I like this guy, Robert Costanzo. I think he voiced Bullock, the character in Batman the Animated Series, the police officer. He was also at the beginning of Die Hard 2, giving John McClane the ticket. But I always like Robert Costanzo. He has a great blue-collar presence. And the way he tells the story about lifting like superhuman strength, and the more of the story, watch where the hell you're going, and someone with superhuman strength won't save you, sorry ass. Or you skinny ass. I forget if he says sorry or skinny ass. And then Billy Crystal's speech. I want to see if I could get this up. I mean, it definitely tells you what kind of mentality this guy has. Sorry, I should have had this up. Oh yeah, there's a value this time in your life, kids. This is the time in your life when you still have your choices. It goes by so quickly. When you're a teenager, you think you do anything, and you do. Your 20s are a blur. Your 30s, you raise your family, you make a little money, and you think to yourself, what happened to my 20s? Your 40s, you grow a little pot belly, you grow another chin. The music starts to get too loud, and one of your old girlfriends from high school becomes a grandmother. Your 50s, you have a minor surgery. You'll call it a procedure, but it's a surgery. Your 60s, you have a major surgery. The music is still loud, but it doesn't matter because you can't hear it anyway. 70s, you and the wife retire to Fort Lauderdale. Start eating dinner at 2, lunch around 10, breakfast the night before. You spend most of your time wandering around malls looking for the ultimate in soft yogurt and muttering, how come the kids don't call? How come the kids don't call? By your 80s, you've had a major stroke and you end up battling to some Jamaican nurse or your wife can't stand about who you call mama. Any questions? And, I mean, if nothing else shows what kind of mindset he's in, that definitely does it. So, it also comes to a head where they have a party, and during the party, actually, Yearly Smith, I always forget she's in this. She's a worker at the store that Daniel Stern didn't own, but he was his wife's father owned. And apparently, like, things were going so bad, he slept with Yearly Smith. And you get the idea that more than likely they're going to break up, get divorced, all that stuff. If hate were people, I'd be China. And I like the bit earlier where Billy goes up to him and is like, Phil, hello. You're faking sleeping at my party. And then when Bruno comes up, he goes, look who's awake. That's right. It may not mean anything to anybody else, but just the way these three interact, and you feel like they've led a life before the film, and so forth. It makes it that much richer. Now the stuff out in the west, not the west, but I mean out for the cattle ride, nicely shot. Again, the music very cheery, very upbeat. Definitely gets your energy, your bones going, so to speak. And Billy just was very natural in the film. I definitely think it's one of his better performances. You know, there's a bit where he's like, rolling, 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 keep them doggies rolling. Man, my ass is swollen, ride. Dim up, move my what up, dim dress, dim shave, comb the hair, rawhide. Tie me down, Timmy lies, pull my hair, smack my thighs with a big strap of rawhide. And again, the way they just interact with each other, the way they... I'm going to keep repeating that, but it's a lot of fun. But again, what I thought the sequel did have was this whole thing with... there's a nice beating heart to it. When his wife ultimately gives him an ultimatum where... you go on this trip and I don't want you to go with me because she doesn't like how he's feeling, doesn't like how unhappy he is. Go find your smile. And he's like, what if I can't? We'll jump that bridge when we come to it. So it really showcases that, you know, she's doing it in a nice way. She's not being mean or rude or nasty. It's just the seriousness of the situation of this. If something doesn't change, then we're going to have to... something more serious has to happen. As Billy says, he just feels lost. I think a lot of us has felt that way. And so that you live like vicariously through Billy's eyes. And then throughout the film, it's just the dialogue just changes, the way the characters work with each other. When they see this lady that's part of the group, and Billy's being nice, and Bruno's calling him out on it, he's like, "I was just being nice." No, that was, "I like your ass. Can I wear it as a hat?" And then like they're riding and they're talking about you. Bruno's like, "Okay, well, does Bruno? He's ready to get." There's an idea where he's going to get married, but he's not sure because he doesn't want to screw it up. And he's kind of talking to Billy, he's like, about that girl in the group. He's like, "Okay, imagine if you could sleep with her one night and she'd never find out." He's like, "No, no, they always find out. They always found out at the hair salon." And like he describes like kind of a Picasso. "Oh, she's a Picasso now." "No, she's not a Picasso. If she was a Picasso, she'd have 3 tits." So yeah, I could look at it, but I don't want to pull it down. And then he's like, "Okay, well, imagine a spaceship lands." "Oh, okay, I see where this is going." And actually, that's when, they'll. What if she was an alien? That the best sex you ever had. It's like, no, they would find out because they'd be at the hair salon. They always talk at the beauty salon. They'd find out then. But then the real answer is no, because I would know and I would feel bad and that wouldn't be right. I mention that because there's a funny callback to that where later on, when Bruno's having doubts about the woman he's with, like he doesn't want to screw it up, and he's like, "Well, it's like the Kellogg's variety pack, and you have the same cereal, but then you want a different one." And in the midst of it, then Billy Crystal's like, "And a spaceship lands." No, 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 no. That's what I mean. Like the banter. What I'm getting is the banter between the three really made the film work. And like the hostility sometimes with Bruno and Daniel Stern, where Bruno is having doubts and Daniel Stern's like, "Well, don't, I don't get you. Like, you're with a model who worships the thing in your pants, and that's not enough for you? I don't want to screw around." "Well, don't." At first, like, "You can't get an erection." "Oh, I did get an erection. Watch. Hold up. Don't pull that out. You don't put me in the fire." And then later, with Bruno's David Daniel Stern trap, let me wonder, what did you use for protection, huh? Plastic or paper? But it's not just the banter. There's some funny, other funny moments. There's the bit where Billy accidentally starts a stampede. And he's trying to warn people, "There's a stampede." Then sees a cow, I should say, "in your tent." And I mean, you look at it and you go, wow, like these are actual actors amidst the stampede or hanging onto this tree. And nowadays, this would be all CGI. The whole stampede would be CGI. All the animals would be CGI. And you feel that complete big disconnect. Why even films like this, like if you try to make it today, wouldn't have the same effect. There's all these little compromises, all this other shit would happen that just makes it less real, less worth the shit to me. Now, Jack Palance, granted, he doesn't come in until a while into the movie, but when he's there, I mean, he gives a very memorable performance in terms of just this dialogue he's given, his reactions, when he's got to take Billy Crystal with him to get the cows, and like he's watching Billy try to do the lasso, and when he's messing up, and the way Jack Palance goes, "Jesus Christ." I have stolen that. I have stolen that reaction, that tone. Like, Jesus Christ. I always think of Jack Palance in that. It just always made me laugh. And they have like a nice talk about, you city folks, you come out here, you have these problems, and blah, blah, blah. You know what the meaning of life is? Your finger? No, one thing. Okay. Once you have that one thing, nothing else means shit. What's the one thing? Well, that's where you gotta figure it out. Which has, a certain amount of truth to it. Now, spoilers, yeah, I do wish that Jack Palance was in it longer. I do wish Jack Palance's character didn't die in the film, or at least die so early in the film. I'd rather he just not die at all, but they had to get it a way where it was now up to our three characters to herd and overcome the odds and do it themselves. I think just because I was just enjoying Jack Palance quite a bit, I just would. I mean, I guess if you want to see more, you see his twin brother in City Slickers too. There's that. But Sally's character does die of old age. And again, it's just the interactions, whether it be Billy trying to make Daniel Stern understand about the VCR and how to record the VCR and how to do all that stuff with it. He doesn't get it. By the time we get done, the cows will understand it. There's also the nice bit where they talk about their best day and their worst day, and they describe it. That really gets you in depth with the characters, especially Bruno Kirby, where he explains the best day, but it's this bit where his father was cheating on his mom and made his mom in pain, and stood up and took care of his mom and his I think his siblings. Is like, what was your worst day? Same day. Like, that really hit home. Like, that really hit very well in the emotional palette of the characters. It really, yeah, nice. It's a great script. It's a really good script. I think that's what made it a hit. I really do. Westerns, I guess in this time, like, Westerns had a little bit more ability to be a hit because Unforgiven was a hit. After this, Tombstone, even Dances with Wolves, you want to put it in, maybe not, it's not, well, I just depend, I guess you could look at it that way. But yeah, for films about, like, Western comedies, I would say this is the best one. I mean, I guess you could argue Blazing Saddles, which I liked. I would say I liked this film more. But I mean, compared to, like, Wagons East and Almost Heroes and some of those, sorry, some of those Western comedies, this one, to be easily outshines those. Damn, I don't know what the hell hit me. Shit. Daniel Stern has a great moment where he breaks down as these assholes, these yahoos, try to bully their way with the group. And he gets a gun on them and talks about how he hates bullies. But then you have some funny in there. Some like, I got some rash from making in the bushes. And they don't hint at, I mean, they don't say it. Maybe I'm looking a bit too much into it. I think there's an assumption that maybe at one point Daniel Stern thought of taking his life. His character, I mean. They never say that, but just how careful he is with the gun and how he explains how there's a gun at the store, and then the way, like, Billy and Bruno kind of ease up to him. I do have to wonder, maybe there was a point that Daniel Stern's character thought of that in his earlier life. So there's definitely three people that have things to deal with and issues to deal with that At the end, when the three of them have to herd this cattle and there's danger and Billy might get killed while... Oh, well, I guess that's one thing I didn't mention when he was with Jack Palance. The big scene is they find this cow who's given birth, and the calf's coming out backwards and comes out, and he names the calf Norman, and becomes kind of his pet. Shut up, cat. Not talking about you. So anyway, that's what. There's some funny bit of stuff with that too. When he's trying to do it, and when he comes out like, "This wasn't the brochure. She needs help. God damn it! I lost my watch. Go. It was a gift." And like I said, by the time the Billy Crystal saves the calf Norman, and they're in the river, and the other two help them out, you really get a sense of their bonding. You really feel that they care for each other. I remember always thinking back to the day this one scene was a bit weird, but then I understood. So again, more spoilers. When they get the group there, the herd, Noble Willingham mentions about how he's going to sell these cows and such to pretty much a slaughterhouse. That the money's just too good. Now, I thought, okay, well, that's kind of shitty because it's like they went through all this for nothing. They went through saving this herd for nothing. They went through doing all that for nothing. And I thought, okay, that's kind of crappy. I did not know there was a deleted scene where they actually released the herd. Now, I get why it was cut out, because if you release the herd, I mean, wouldn't eventually they would just be found again and brought back again? And then wouldn't that cause some kind of hassle or trouble legally? It'd be like there's a lot of things people would question about it. I mean, part of me would have just cut out the whole thing where Noble Willingham says they're going to sell the animals. I mean, just makes the victory seem a little more empty. But oh well, it is what it is. I wouldn't say that's a critique I have on it, but that's always something that was a little bit weird, felt weird about. But ultimately, things work out. They go their separate ways. They talk about what the next time they're going to meet and next adventure they'll have. Found his smile and brings his pet calf home, and everything's fine and dandy. Now, the sequel... That cat's so annoying. He always... As I was saying, the thing about City Slickers 2, I always... Real quick light. I always wonder why Bruno Kirby wasn't in that. Now, I don't know if this is true. I've heard that Bruno Kirby did not have the best time working on this because he was allergic to horses. In fact, he had to take these pills in order to, deal with the film, and wasn't really the greatest time. So maybe that's why he didn't come back for the sequel. If that's the case, and I'm like, well, it would have been nice to have like a cameo, like he's on a phone, or I don't know, maybe from time to time he calls Bruno Kirby, and Bruno Kirby's like trying to give him advice. Like, it still would have been nice somehow for him to get in it. But, it is what it is. Or maybe if there was a point where they have to just walk and not have horses, and then Bruno Kirby arrives or something, that would have been nice. Or just not have horses at all. Maybe they go out there using other vehicles, and vehicles in general, not just, I don't know. I think there was a way to work around it if that was the case and have Bruno Kirby in it. That's one of the things that I did not like about City Slickers 2. Because I think the three of them just had that great bond with each other. You wanted to see that continue more. But it didn't, and you didn't really see it. And then I don't think there was much emotion. They tried to with like Billy and John Lovitz as brothers. They didn't work. John Lovitz didn't work in that movie. Not for me, at least. But this one still holds up, still worked very well, and still a lot of fun to watch, and it was great to revisit this. So, with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.